So let me get this right. Jesus had two natures, divine nature and a human nature. And he was 100% God, according to the belief. According to my disbelief, God cannot die. So if he was fully God, then he would not have died. And if Jesus didn't die, that means he didn't resurrect. Because resurrection, you got to die first. You know. So when the belief says that Jesus bodily resurrected, and that's why we can't find his body, and we same thing with Mary and everybody else that we can't find in the Bible. They say that Jesus collected them. If 1 Corinthians chapter 15 verse 50 said ... flesh and blood cannot enter the kingdom of heaven, and the incorruption can't take on corruption, or something like that. So when you say he bodily resurrected, that means his flesh and blood had to go to heaven. But if that be so, then 1 Corinthians chapter 15 verse 50 is a lie. Now, either the scripture is lying or the way that we believe in the scripture is not true. In that same book, 1 Corinthians chapter 15, it asks the questions, like basically questioning if Jesus was risen or if God raised Christ in the dead. And it asks a yes or no question, like, so if that ain't exist, is all this a lie? And the Bible was like, yeah, we are found false witnesses because we have testified that God raised up Christ, whom he did not. Look, who he did not. And then that's when you find that flesh and blood cannot inherit the kingdom of heaven. So if we have testified that God raised Christ, which means God's flesh and blood went into heaven, then 1 Corinthians chapter 15 verse 50 must be a lie. Or the way we've been believing is a lie. And speaking of false witnessing or witnessing, in the first chapter of Acts, it says, from the time of John the Baptist, from the baptism of John, to the day he, which is Jesus, was taken from them on a cloud, must one be ordained to be a witness along with them of his resurrection. We have not witnessed shit. Therefore, we are false witnesses because we have testified that God raised Christ, whom he did not. Because flesh and blood cannot inherit the kingdom of heaven, and God cannot die or be born. So if someone's trying to get you to believe this, you automatically know it is a lie. That's your needle in the haystack.